So this video will be about Troubleshoot Logical Switch Transport Zone and NSX Edge mappings. Well, the transport zones we already know if we go to the installation. We can go to our logical network preparation and we can view our transport zones in here. Okay, these are our, well, I currently only have one transport zone, which is the global one. Let's wait until it's finished thinking. Well, it's probably taking a while. Yeah, here you go. So I have the transport zone G, which stands for global. If we go to the logical switches, we can see that all of my logical switches are using that same transport zone because I only have one. And here we can verify if we didn't make a mistake. For example, if you have multiple transport zones, if the logical switch is in the correct transport zone. And the NSX Edge mapping, which is also important if we have mapped or, well, assigned an interface to that logical switch. Here, for example, in my first ESG, you will see in the settings and the interfaces, you will see in the interfaces list connected to here that I may have used or connected to a few logical switches. And this one is an edge service gateway and the other one is a logical distribution router. And I believe I have more logical switches connected to my logical distributed router than to my edge service gateway. So here you see I have 1 and 2 connected, and the LDR. Let's go to interfaces. You can see here the connection. You can see here that all of my connections are connected to a logical switch, which is okay. Okay, we can also do some CLI commands. Let's go to the first controller. Let me clear out the screen just to make it more. Yeah. So here, for example, we can do a show control cluster logical switches, and this will bring up, and I just hit enter, and you can see all different command keywords that you can use. You can stat sample, all of those different things in order to, well, retrieve information. So I just hit enter and it will tell you, okay, well, error, my command was invalid, so you need to choose one of those values behind it. So one of the commands is the VNI. So let's do VNI. Hit enter. Did something wrong, I guess. I also need to add in a VNI number. So when we go to the logical switches again, go to the logical switches. There you will see the segment IDs here, and this is also the VNI number. So for example, if we choose 5000, it's connected, or it's actually the ls-app logical switch. We can go to VNI and we can do 5000 here. Okay, we can see information, which controller it's holding it, and our proxy is enabled. Right now we can see 0 connections. Yeah, there are 0 connections here. So we can do the same with 1, and we can do the same with 2, 3, 4, 5. Not sure how many we have. Well, we have 6 in total. So let's continue and do 6 as well. We can see what controller is actually, well, with what controller is responsible for this VNI. Okay, you can see it's kind of, well, mixed up here, which is okay. Okay, another command that we can do is we can show the connection table of a logical switch. The command for that is connection table, and you also need to specify the VNI. What happened? Why didn't it? Made a mistake, I guess. Well, for 5000 it didn't found anything. For 5001 it found on what hosts this well, VNI lives. This goes well. Okay, so for 5002, 5003, 5004, and 5005, it says error not found. But that's correct because we just saw because I'm currently on this controller here, so this controller is only responsible for 5001 and 5006. Was that correct? Let me scroll back. Yeah, 5006 and 5001. So if you want to have information regarding on what hosts the other VNIs exist, for example the 502, we need to go to the third controller, and we can issue the same command. But we need to do that on the third controller, because if we do it on the second, for example, let me do this scrollback thing. It didn't find it, and if we do it on this one, it will give me information regarding this VNI, because it is responsible for that VNI. It's taking a while though. In the meanwhile, I will show you another command. So for this one, we know that the 5001. If you want to know, or if you want to look up the VTAP table, we can very easily look up VTAP, logical switches VTAP table, and 5001. There you go, you can see exactly what VTAP in what segment is holding what MAC address, which is pretty interesting, right? We can also see the connection IDs 24, 3, 2, and 19. This one came back with a list finally. This is very handy to know, right? If we go to in-depth troubleshooting. This is maybe very nice to look at. This 5001 is the LS Web logical switch, and we just did a look on the MAC addresses, right? Which one are in the LS Web. So if we look a little bit deeper, we can go to the web servers, and this is the web 01, and we can see that this one is connected to 5001. And what you can do is do a quick verification. The MAC address here ends with 0C49, and here we will probably see a no, we didn't. I'm not sure what that is. Oh, this is probably the MAC address of the VTAP adapter. Yeah, okay. I was wrong here. How do I check that? Yes, I can check that by going to the network manage, go to the VM kernel adapters, and here you will see some of my VNICs available. So this one, for example, is having its own MAC address. Yes, okay. So let's go very quickly. 64C2 This is probably not the one that I need. This D0, D4. D0, D4, yeah, so these are the MAC addresses of not of the VM VNIX, but of the VTAPs, of course, because we're looking at a VTAP table. So when we're doing troubleshooting, but what I told you before in my other video, we can test out the whole VTAP thing very quick with a VMK ping. And we don't need to do it from the controller though, but we need to do that from the ESXi host. And when we can do a VMK ping with a NetStack VXLAN with a high MTU value, then we at least know if that ping goes through, that the underlying network, including the MTU interface values, including the VTAP interface, blah blah blah, are all working. So we don't need to worry too much about this part here. Okay. So this video will also be covering the services deployed on the logical switches, and yeah, basically the service deployed on the logical switch is, for example, a web server or an application server or a database server or whatever application that you have.